Hello friends. So in the previous lecture, we were considering the biaxial load which is imposed on a three-dimensional plate and the components of stress that is required to describe the mechanical condition experienced by a region of our interest which is inclined within the three-dimensional plate. We saw that we can quantify a normal stress and a tangential stress with respect to this inclined plane which is present in the three-dimensional plate that is experiencing biaxial tensile loading. So what we looked was a 3D plate under biaxial tensile loading, and we saw that for a region of interest that is inclined by an angle theta, then the normal stress experienced by this inclined region is expressed as, if AB be the inclined region, it is expressed as 1 by 2 sigma x plus sigma y plus sigma x minus sigma y cos 2 theta. So this was the expression for the normal stress that is experienced by a region of interest which is present within a plate that is experiencing biaxial tensile loading. So here the sigma x and the sigma y are the stresses that is imposed by the tensile load applying in the mutually perpendicular direction, that is x and y. So what we have essentially done is we have expressed the normal stress experienced by the region of interest in terms of the stresses experienced or the stress that is imposed on the overall plate. Similarly, we also saw that the tensile stress is of the form 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y sine 2 theta. So these were the two expressions rather that we derived for expressing or quantifying the mechanical condition experienced by a region of interest inclined by an angle theta within a three-dimensional plate that is experiencing a biaxial loading condition. So based on this expression, we were able to identify principal planes by imposing the condition that the stress or the shear stress experienced by the plane along its surface is 0. So by imposing this condition, we were able to identify the inclination of those planes for which the stress experienced over its surface is 0, and we refer to them as the principal plane. We saw that these inclinations are 0 degrees and 90 degrees, and we found that for these inclinations the only stress that is acting is the overall stress that is imposed, or one of the overall stress that is imposed in the x or y directions. So depending on the angle you choose. For our frame of reference, we saw that for 0 degrees the stress experienced by the principal plane is nothing but the stress imposed along the x direction, and for 90 degrees is nothing but the stress imposed along the y direction of the overall three-dimensional plate. So all these we saw in the previous lecture, and we also stated in the previous lecture that henceforth what we will be doing is we will not be considering the derivation of this expression, but rather we will be taking a different approach. We will be trying to extract this similar expression from the graphical representations or some graphical illustration. So that is what we will try to do in this lecture. So let us see how we can extract similar expressions using a graphical representation. Now let us stick to the conditions we are looking into right now, that is a three-dimensional plate experiencing biaxial tensile loading, and we have a region of interest that is inclined by an angle theta. So only when these conditions are satisfied, the reason I am rewriting these conditions is because only when these conditions are satisfied, you would be able to associate the mechanical condition experienced by our region of interest with these set of expressions. So only when these three conditions are satisfied, your normal stress and the shear stress will be equal to these two expressions. Depending on if any of these conditions vary, then correspondingly these expressions should also vary rather. So now let us try to see how well we can arrive at this similar expression using a graphical representation or a graphical depiction. So now for that, let us first represent the stress in the direction x. So let us first assume that the stress in the direction as x greater than the stress in the direction y. So we have a plate. So it's a three-dimensional plate, and the thickness is protruding towards us, and we are imposing a bilaxial tensile loading along the x and the y direction. Now, by considering the corresponding area perpendicular to the load, we will be able to extract the stress along the y direction and the stress along the x direction. So let us assume the stress along the x direction is greater than the stress along the y direction. So under such consideration, so in addition to all these set of initial conditions, let us assume this consideration that the stress along the x direction is greater than the stress along the y direction. So in that case, so let us begin by graphically representing this stress, that is sigma x, that is along the x direction. So if you would like to graphically represent this stress, let us consider its magnitude alone, and let us represent it using a straight line. So this straight line, say AB. Now forget about our the representation of AB which we used earlier, that is the region of our interest which was inclined. Now here the magnitude of the stress that is acting along the x direction is AB. So in this graphical representation, the magnitude of the stress that is acting along the x direction is AB. Now let us represent the other stress that is mutually perpendicular to the x direction, which is imposed on the three-dimensional material, as AC. So since AC is less than AB, if you want to introduce this stress in this region itself, so it will fall within this line AB, since we are working under this condition that the stress along the x direction is less than the stress, or it is greater than the stress along the y direction. Now the magnitude of stress along the y direction, if we want to impose or if we want to graphically represent over this line AB, then it will fall within this. So that means let us assume the C is somewhere here. So ultimately you have AC that represent the stress along the y direction, and AB that represents the stress along the x direction. So I hope you are clear here. Now supposing you have a condition wherein the stresses are so large in order to represent, or that makes it difficult for you to represent it in this form of a linear line or in the form of this line, then the easier way to do it is to consider the ratio of these stresses. So you consider the ratio of stress along the y direction and the stress along the x direction, and related to the corresponding segment of the line AC and AB. So when you are able to fulfill this ratio, and if when you are able to replot it or plot it using, or plot the lines in such a way that this ratio is satisfied, then ultimately what you have done is you have fulfilled this criteria. So you have normalized it, and you have made sure that you have plotted the lines that reflect the magnitude, the relative magnitude of the different stresses in x and y direction. So essentially you have in a straight line now represented the stress acting along the x direction and the stress acting along the y direction. Remember, this is only possible when you fulfill this condition, and both these are tensile load or biaxial tensile load. Now this, with this region here, which is this region BC, now is nothing but sigma x minus sigma y. So this region BC, B and C is nothing but sigma x and sigma y. So between these region, that is BC, let us draw a circle. So that is a circle between B and C, and let us assume O is the center point of this circle. So we have AC and AB which represents the magnitude of stress along the y and x direction respectively, and now BC is nothing but the difference in the stress acting along the x direction and the y direction. With that BC we are now with that BC as the diameter, we have now plotted a circle with center O. Now the radius of this circle, which would be OC or OB, will be equal to 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y. So let us try to replot it in a larger scale for the further references. So what we have done is, we have considered the stress along the x-axis as AB, the stress along the y-axis as AC. Now with this BC we have plotted, or with BC as the diameter, we have plotted a circle. Assume this to be, or rather let me try to make it as perfect as possible. So this is a circle, and this the radius or the midpoint or the center of the circle is O. Now we have AC, that is sigma y, AB, that is sigma x. Now BC is sigma x minus sigma y. So this BC here is sigma x minus sigma y, and the radius of the circle, that is OC and OB, is equal to 1 by 2 sigma x and sigma y. Now in this region or in this circle, let us consider a point E which makes an angle 2 theta with respect to OB. So the theta is the angle of inclination of our desired plane with respect to the normal. So we quantified the angle of inclination of our desired plane within a two-dimensional plate using theta. In this representation, let us consider a point OE within this circle with diameter BC such that the angle OE with respect to OB is 2 theta, where theta is the angle of inclination of our desired plane. So by considering the angle of inclination of our desired plane, we multiplied it by 2 and then introduced that angle in the circle and dropped a line OE. Now from this point E, let us drop a perpendicular, that is with D. So from this point E, so let me use a red color here. So from this point E, we have dropped a perpendicular to AB, and that perpendicular meets the line AB at D. So what essentially we have done is, we have now included the inclination of our region of interest into this graphical representation, and that we have done by introducing a point E in the circle of radius or diameter BC, and from that E we have now dropped a perpendicular line. So this line here in red is perpendicular line. Now let us try to express the segment AD. So what we want to do is, we want to quantify this segment AD, which is the part of this graphical representation. What we want to do is, we want to represent this segment A and D. So AD can be written as the summation of AO plus OD. So the summation of AO plus OD is nothing but AD, the segment that we want to consider. Now AO, that is this region from O to A. O is the center of the circle and A is the initial point. So AO can be written as AC plus OC. So AO is nothing but these two segments, that is AC plus OC. Now we already know that AC is nothing but, it is written here, AC is nothing but sigma y. So the AC here is nothing but sigma y, and OC is nothing but 1 by 2 of sigma x minus sigma y. So that means AO would be, if we write it in this manner or substitute these two expressions for AC and OC, would be something like this, 1 by 2 of sigma x minus sigma y. So when we bring this 1 by 2 inside, all you would end up with is 1 by 2 of sigma x plus sigma y. It's just that you are multiplying the 1 by 2 or bringing this 1 by 2 here and then subtracting it. Now, what we have is an expression for AO here. And now we want to have an expression for OD. Now, if you look here, OD is this segment. So, let me use say blue. So, OD is this segment. So, we want to calculate what this segment is. And now for that, we will use the angle 2 theta. Now, when you consider the cos of 2 theta, so if you consider, say, cos of, so as you consider cos of 2 theta, it would be nothing but for this triangle OED. For triangle OED, the cos of 2 theta is OD by OE, adjacent by hypotenuse, that is OD by OE. So when you substitute this relation here, then your OD is OE cos 2 theta. So all that we have done is, to quantify OD, we have considered the triangle OED, and with using this angle 2 theta, we have considered the cos 2 theta and expressed OD in terms of OE. So it is OD is equal to OE cos 2 theta. Now this OE is nothing but the radius of the circle we have considered with diameter BC, and this radius of this circle we have already quantified it here. This is the radius of the circle, which is nothing but 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y. So therefore OD, the segment we are interested in, if we substitute this OE here, then it would be 1 by 2 sigma x plus sigma y cos 2 theta. So we have an expression for OD, and we have also arrived at an expression for AO. So we have an expression for AO already, we have arrived at an expression for OD. So when you substitute this expression for AO and this expression for OD, then you would end up with an expression for AD, the segment that we wanted to quantify. So in that case, the segment that we wanted to quantify, AB, would be the summation of this AO and OD. So ultimately we can substitute this and we can substitute this, and you would end up with an expression that is 1 by 2 sigma x plus sigma y plus 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y cos 2 theta. Now if you take the 1 by 2 here, the AD, so rather this should be AD. So AD would be something like this: sigma x plus sigma y plus sigma x minus sigma y cos 2 theta. Now this expression is nothing but the normal stress that is experienced by an inclined region of interest within a 3-dimensional plate that is experiencing biaxial loading. So what we have done is, we have essentially arrived at an expression for the normal stress experienced by a region of interest within a 3-dimensional plate that is experiencing a biaxial loading by virtue of a graphical representation. So this graphical representation involved the plotting of AB and AC, which is nothing but the magnitude of the the magnitude of the stress that is experienced by the overall plate along the x and the y direction. Based on the difference BC, we plotted a circle, and in that circle we introduced the inclination of our region of interest through the line OE, and from that we dropped a perpendicular, and we just quantified the point the perpendicular meets, the diameter BC, that is D. We quantified this region or the segment AD, and when we quantified it, we saw that this segment gives a relation that is equal to the normal stress experienced by the region of interest that is inclined by an angle theta. So apart from all these derivations, once we have an idea what the normal stress experienced by the region of interest is, the same expression can be gained from this illustration. Now the other component of stress that remains is the shear component, and this shear component that is sigma, or rather tau AB, we saw it is expressed as 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y sine 2 theta. So this expression we derived it in the previous lecture, and this is how this the expression looks like. So sigma x minus sigma y sine 2 theta, or 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y sine 2 theta. So let us see if there is any segment within the graphical representation that we saw would give us this expression. So if you look into it, we have the 2 theta here, so we have to introduce the 2 theta. We have already considered cos theta. The cos theta relates OD to OE. So one other line or one other side of the triangle that is left for us is DE. So let us now try to quantify this DE or express this DE in terms of all the parameters that we have introduced, all the components that we have introduced into this graphical representation. So let us now try to quantify DE. So the DE, as you can see here, is the part of this triangle OED. DE is a part of this triangle OED. Now if you consider sine 2 theta, it would be opposite by hypotenuse, then it would be sine 2 theta would be DE by OE. So that means if you substitute this relation here, then DE can be expressed as OE sine 2 theta, and we have seen OE is nothing but the radius of the circle, which is nothing but 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y, and therefore DE can be written as, by substituting the OE here, 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y sine 2 theta. So what we have essentially done is, we have now calculated the shear component of the stress experienced by AB along its plane using or by quantifying a segment DE within the graphical representation that we have considered. So we have devised or we have constructed a particular set of lines and circles, and just based on quantifying different segments within these lines and circles, we were able to arrive at the expression for the normal components of the stress and the shear components of the stress. So what we have is the shear component of the stress, and in AD what we had was the normal component of the stress, cos 2 theta. So these two we were able to derive just from the graphical representation or the graphical depiction that we arrived at by considering the different stresses that were acting along the x and y direction. So if you could revisit here, what we would see is, all that we have done is, we began by considering a line that represents the magnitude of the stress that is acting along the x direction, and in that line we considered a segment AC. So we have an initial larger line that represents the magnitude of stress that is acting along the x direction, and in that we considered a segment AC that represents the smaller stress that is acting along the y direction. The difference between these 2 points, or the point B and C, we plotted a circle, and in that circle we introduced the region of our interest through the angle of inclination, and that gave us OE. So instead of directly introducing theta, we introduced OE in the form of 2 theta, and that gave us the line OE, and from that OE we dropped a perpendicular called D. And now by quantifying AD and ED, so with respect to D, the perpendicular that comes from E, which includes the angle of inclination, we were able to quantify, or we were able to arrive at an expression for the normal stress and the shear stress. And these expressions we were able to, we are sure that these expressions represent the normal stress and the shear stress because we have already derived it. So all that we have done is, we have arrived at the same expressions. Instead of doing the actual derivation steps, we have arrived at it through a simpler illustration, so through a simpler graphical representation. This approach is referred to as this circle is referred to as the Morse circle. So what essentially Morse circle does is, the Morse circle helps us quantify or arrive at an expression for the normal stress and the shear stress that is experienced by the region of interest that is inclined to the loading direction. So now our Morse stress is confined to, or we have restricted our Morse stress to a three-dimensional plate experiencing a biaxial tensile loading condition. However, we can extend this approach to the different loading condition, and based on the different loading condition and also including the region of our interest to appropriate theta, we will be able to arrive at the expressions for the different stress components. So all that you need to do is appropriately construct the Morse circle. You have to appropriately introduce these different stresses, and by doing so you will be able to arrive at or quantify the components of stress that is experienced by your region of interest. So in this depiction, we have included both forms of stress, that is the biaxial stress. We have included the stress acting along the x-axis. We have included the magnitude of the stress that is acting along the y-axis, and we have also included the angle of inclination. So all the basic components that are required to describe our system is included in this Morse circle. And now, by considering the different segments, that is AD and DE, we were able to arrive at the expressions for or quantify the different components of stress, particularly the normal stress and the shear stress. And we are sure that whatever the results this particular Morse circle gives is consistent with the results that we got from the conventional derivation. Now, so this is for a rather straightforward condition that we were looking at. So this is for a condition that we have been looking at for some time now, that is a three-dimensional plate experiencing a biaxial tensile loading. Now let us try to look at a different setup and a different loading condition. So far what we have been doing is we have been confining or restricting ourselves to the three-dimensional plate and a biaxial tensile loading. So let us now consider for a loading condition which is compressive in the y-axis, while the same tensile load is acting along the x-axis. So that we will consider in the next part of this lecture. So I want to have this lecture into two segments so that it is easy for you to differentiate and to relate to how the Morse circle is built. So once you are convinced on how this Morse circle is built, then you can look into the second part of this lecture. So let's see ourselves in the second lecture. Bye.